may be seated.
Stand on existing protocols as established by UGO. The first thing to say is that, of course, I wish to congratulate those that were selected, the 25, for the Youth Sounding Board, which shall call the board from now on. There was apparently hundreds of applications. I wasn't directly involved, but we had to do a bit of organizing in order to get this sorted out. They're all young, motivated Nigerians, and all throughout the country. And this geographic distribution was attempted to the end. So that's the division we have across the country. You were based on your knowledge and experience in one or more of the areas of key interest to the European Union, which include gender equality, youth inclusion, climate change, and culture, which basically define also the way our cooperation is going to go in the future. One thing which is important, and I was pleasantly surprised as well to find out that apparently some of you have on your own social media more than or up to 10,000 followers, which is something which I find very impressive. And that's precisely the idea, is that it's not just the 25 that make up the sounding board, but you should have a much wider participation, and the consulting, if I can call it that, could be done on a much wider basis, and therefore have much more value and be deeper into the Nigerian society. It goes without saying that Nigeria is a very young country, very young population. So 60%, which is pretty amazing, 60% of the population is below 25, which puts things in focus. This youth, of course, is a huge drive for change and innovation. We all know that. But also, I mean, this division among the population also brings huge problems, which in terms of employment, education, employment, and then opportunities for life. There is a great deal of youth, and this has to be addressed, which is something that we have been trying to do. The European Union youth is sort of spread across the wide range of programs that the European Union has implemented in the past and that we intend to do in the future as well. Yes, it also goes without saying that the future of this country will largely depend on the ability of governments and ourselves assisting the government to provide young Nigerians with opportunities for education, employment, and access to decision making. And this is precisely what we're trying to do here, So give the young access to decision making, which is not always the case across the world. A key lesson learned in our engagement is that lasting change and innovation lies to a great extent with young. This is true both here in Nigeria, but much more so because the proportion of the population that is young is so much larger. I was going to say, it's the third time I say it goes without saying, but if it goes without saying, Talleyrand said you shouldn't say it, but I'm saying it, that obviously given the balance in the division in the way the population is distributed, that the young have to be taken into account all throughout the programming. We have the European Union's Commissioner for Development Policy, which is our development minister equivalent in the European Union, Jutta Urpilainen, has recently said that this partnership will unleash the power of youth around the world and in Africa in particular. This is her comments about the cooperation, the development cooperation we do across the world. Nigeria is only the second country in Africa, this delegation, to launch a sounding board. The first one was Zimbabwe. And also, which is interesting to know, there is an equivalent at central level organized by the Director General that this lady presides over, which is called the Global Youth Sounding Board, that sits all the programming, as far as the European Union is concerned, the programming that we have for the assistance, economic assistance to across the world. It will run from 21 to 27. We work on 7-year financial perspective. We call it financial perspective, which is the financial planning. And that is coming to a close, the general programming. But the implementation of the new program is still open, because then you need the programs and you need the projects to be decided. And I think that's where the sounding boards will have their say. They'll come alive there. Finally, I'll say that we would expect the Nigeria board to be a bridge builder, right? Not just between us and you, the board, but between you as well and government, who I am told, I think the minister's not there yet, but there's a representative, and that is very important, because of course we're only here to partner with the government in most of what we do, and obviously we're not going to deviate from what the priorities of a national government, in this case the Nigerian. So we expect you to be brave and bold. Okay, this is your marching orders, and it's about time we start saying things like the future is youth. I always thought myself that, you know, the youth, because you're there, is the present, right? And it's in the present that you build the future. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope this will be a successful launch. Thanks very much.
Very much, Mr. Alshanj. I'd like to tell you a story. I've been practicing the best way of pronouncing this name for the last 1 week, because a Nigerian will look at it and call him Alexander, and the person wouldn't be wrong if you see the way it's spelled. But we needed to pronounce it the way it should be pronounced. And it's the kind of name, a friend of mine growing up once said that if he gets to the point of having children, that his first son, he will ensure that he will give him a name that will earn him points when he's old enough to talk to girls. So, and he said that part of the names that he will give to his children will be Bojis. So that when he introduces himself, that the first thing, it would have scored him like 70 points before he begins to talk. So I think Elshawn's name is one of those names that earn points before you begin to talk. Okay, thank you very much for that brief.
Are you expecting me now? Because my connection was a little bit broken. Hello? Can you hear me? Good morning. Please tell me if you can hear me. Danielle, maybe you can tell me if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Between 14 and 35 years, also from Nigeria, they gave their opinion, and recommendation to the African Union, European Union partnership. As you may know, early next year, we are preparing a summit between the African Union and the European Union, and we of course hope that the youth will also participate in this. And this report covers various expectations and recommendations on climate change, green transition, education, skills, decent jobs, or governance, peace and security. These are really all your concerns, I guess. And I would like to highlight one specific concern that caught my attention. So even though 91% of young Africans and Europeans want to be more involved in decision making, they have no way of communicating this directly with policymakers. And so this is exactly the reason why we want to change the way we work for youth, but most importantly with youth. And that is why we've established these youth sounding boards, as I said, both in our headquarters in Brussels, but in our partner countries. So well done to Nigeria. You're our second country after Zimbabwe, where we have one. So this launch is very important and is being watched very closely by our bosses. And so this is an important step in this direction. So what is it? It is basically a group of committed young people like you, Union, in this case, the EU delegation in Nigeria, on youth participation and empowerment. We want you, to have a fresh look at what we do with your eyes in our international partnership and in relation with our partner countries. So also in our dialogue with our partner countries, we like, to be involved and also advise us on what are the things that we are supposed to bring to their attention. Of course, we have ideas, but it's good that we exchange. And as I said, the same will happen here with our commissioner, who will also have the same exchange regularly with a youth sounding board. So we would like these youth sounding boards to be inclusive spaces for exchange, suggestion, bringing the diverse experiences of young people. So we count on these sounding boards to help us make our policies better and more relevant and effective for young people in our partner countries. Of course, the key reason is that, most of the population in Africa and in Nigeria is made up of young people. So if we don't talk to you, we're basically excluding a big chunk of the population, and we don't want to do that. And I understand that the next intervention by Imrana will be who is the Nigerian member of the Youth Sounding Board for International Partnership. She will provide insights on the importance of creating meaningful spaces for youth participation and mechanism to take young people's voices on board for the development of policies and programs. We hope that you will liaise with youth organizations and young people across the country. So you should really be a bit the link, between those who are outside of the Youth Sounding Board, so that, you can also make their voices heard, and so bring that to the delegation. But our commitment doesn't stop to this. She has the Commissioner for International Partnership, Jutta Urpilainen, and she has even appointed Bitania Lulu Beranu from Ethiopia as like her special advisor on youth. So beyond the Youth Sounding Board, she will have a person dedicated who will advise her on youth. And EU delegation in our partner countries are, as we've heard, developing the new programs for the next 7 years. And we have very clearly asked all our delegation to consult with youth organization in this process. I think the delegation Nigeria has done an excellent job at that, in really consulting on the various stages of this preparation of this program. And so the program is for 7 years, and it will identify key priorities, three key priorities for engagement with Nigeria. And it's a whole of society engagement, precisely, is with the government, civil society, youth organization, women organization, private sector, and so on. And at African level, I would like to refer to also other spaces that we have developed. We support what we call the African Union EU Youth Hub, which is a multi-stakeholder platform of 51 African and European young experts, aiming at turning youth recommendation and concrete proposal into reality for informing, again, the EU partnership. And in addition, we've also started to prepare the first youth action plan in EU external action, which will provide a comprehensive approach to youth participation and empowerment in the EU's external action, and further develop and improve our commitments to young people. In the process of this elaboration, we have planned to launch a targeted consultation to youth organizations, the United Nations, and other entities working in the field of youth. So I would like to conclude today by thanking again the EU delegation in Nigeria for this launch today, for inviting me, but also for all the efforts in improving youth participation and empowerment, and to the members of the Youth Sounding Board for putting their commitment, passion, and expertise at our disposal. I wish you a fruitful cooperation with us. We are working forward to working with you, and so excellent launch to all of you, and excellent start of this fruitful partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madame de Maro. That shows how important this launch of the Youth Sounding Board is. Brussels is all ears and is with arms open to welcome whatever comes from us today. Thank you very much. And at this point, I'd like to recognize the presence of the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Sunday Dare. You're welcome, sir. We don't take your presence in whatever we are doing for granted. Anytime we call on you, you've always answered. And we are very, very proud of you and the things you do. And we welcome you specially. You were not here when the welcome remarks took place. So we do appreciate your presence. Thank you, sir. Now, at the moment, permit me to bring to the podium another name that can earn you points, 80 points, when you're ready to speak. The EU Head of Cooperation, Madame Cecile Tasin-Pelzer. Welcome her to the one beautiful story she has to tell us today. Please relax and imbibe every bit of it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, good morning. Please allow me also to stand on the existing protocol, dear Minister, and good morning to all the young people who have been selected to become the new members of this Youth Sounding Board for Nigeria. I am Cécile Tasin-Pelzer, the head of cooperation of the European Union in Nigeria. If you wonder what kind of accent I have, it's a French accent. And so bear with me about my mastering of your beautiful language. So I'm very, very happy to be with you this morning. I was asked to say a few words about my job, basically. I mean, about the cooperation between the European Union and Nigeria. I was asking how much you know about the European Union, and I can understand in a country like Nigeria and in general in all African countries, our delegations have a political mandate and they also have a cooperation mandate. So I will focus on this one. It's a very old partnership that we have between the European Union and Africa. And in Nigeria in particular, we can say it started in 1976 with the signature of the Lomé Convention between the African, Caribbean, Pacific states and the European Union. I would say some important steps in the evolution of our cooperation. I would mention 2008 when it was decided jointly between the European Union and Nigeria to, let's say, to go a step higher, further in the partnership. And in 2009, we have agreed together for an EU-Nigeria joint way forward. That was an important step. Another important step was more recent, the last meeting at ministerial level between the European Union and Nigeria. It was in November last year. And together, it was on the Nigerian side, it was headed by your Minister of Foreign Affairs, and on the EU side, on the counterpart of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is the European Union High Representative. And so this, in this high-level meeting, the EU and Nigeria really agreed to continue working further on key common issues. We really share some challenges, we share some values, and so for instance, those common issues are peace and security, for instance, economic development, social development, human rights, equality. We have a lot in common. And as was mentioned by the two previous speakers, we are starting a new program for 7 years. We have 7 years financial cycle. So in the last 12 months, we have been very busy in working on this, on preparing this program. We have held a lot of consultations, as Francesca mentioned before. We have consulted not only the civil society representatives, also the private sector, and of course we have started the discussions with the representatives of the government of Nigeria. Of course, our cooperation is based on Nigeria agenda. I mean, the European Union doesn't come to a country with its own agenda. That's not the point at all. We are here to align on the national policies, the national agenda, and to discuss together how the European Union can help the government of a partner country to reach their goals. And we are here to accompany because, as I said, because we have common challenges and we have common goals. So for the 7 years, we have agreed together that we will focus on 3 key priority areas. So the first one is green and digital economy. The second one is governance, peace and migration. And the third one is human development. They are they are interconnected, all these 3 priorities. They don't go in silo. And the common focus for the European Union for all these 3 priorities is youth. It's you. We really want, in everything we do, we really want to focus on creating opportunities, creating jobs for young people, and also on the governance, democracy component. We want to help you make your voice heard. We want to help you participating to the decision-making process. This is young people are really at the core of all our interventions. And I also should say that we are not only the European Union delegation representing, we are representing the European institutions, but it's not us only who are here working with you in Nigeria. It's also our member states. So the European member states, and I'm very happy to see some of them with us today, who are in Nigeria also. A lot of them are also based in Nigeria, working. But Team Europe, it's the European delegation and the different embassies and cooperation agencies of the European Union. And I could give you one example. I think it's a good example of what we did together as Team Europe. It's during the COVID-19 crisis. I mean, we are still there, but I mean, when it started last year, we have put our efforts together to accompany the government of Nigeria, because the government of Nigeria, of course, had prepared its own response plan. And so together, Team Europe, and together also with multilateral partners like the United Nations, and I'm very happy to have the UNICEF with us today, we have put our strength together in a common response, and we have put our funds together in a common basket fund. I think it was a very good experience. We are going to have more experiences like that. And so it will be very important for us in the coming months and years to involve you, to consult you regularly, because we have I mean, I talked about these 3 priority areas, but it's still very broad. And now we have really to start the work of designing the new projects, the new programs that we want to implement. And it's really an opportunity for us to have this youth sounding board that you represent, and we will ask you to help us designing better programs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cecile. That was clear. The EU wants to make the voice of the Nigerian youth heard and to have them participate in the decision-making of the EU Development Corporation in Nigeria. I think that's a privilege we should not let slip by us. At this stage, may I call on the globe, someone from the Imrana, who is part of the Global Youth Sounding Board. He is Imrana Alhaji Buba. He's also a Nigerian. There's another, this is the local Youth Sounding Board, specifically for Nigeria. There's a Youth Sounding Board that is global. Okay, and Imrana is part of that group. He has a speech and something he wants us to hear this morning. We are taking that online, so please relax and let's hear what Imrana has to tell us.
Hello, my name is Imrana Buba, and I'm a member of the International Youth Sounding Board. First, congratulations on the selection of 25 members of Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. This is a really good opportunity to be selected out of thousands of applications in Nigeria and to represent the voices of millions of young Nigerians. So congratulations. So today I will talk briefly about what it means to me to be selected as a member of the Youth Sounding Board. What we are up to since our first meeting, and maybe some 1 or 2 advice to you as members of Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. So for me, I was nominated by the EU Youth Cooperation Hub, which is a program of the African Union and European Union Youth Hub, to ensure youth participation in the implementation of EU and AU project. So I've been part of the hub since 2018. This means it's a great opportunity to serve as a subject matter expert and amplify voices of young people in key EU policies, programs, and many other opportunities. I also take it as a great opportunity to increase authentic local youth voices through regular consultations with EU policymakers. So this is really a great opportunity to be part of. So we had our first meeting on 13th and 14th July 2021. And during the meeting, we had opportunity to get to know each other, just as you are meeting each other now. And we get to meet the youth team of the European Commission's Directorate General for International Partnerships, as well as the EU Commissioner for International Partnerships. The commissioner introduced herself during the meeting, and she spoke about her professional career as an activist and then as a politician. She emphasized that throughout her professional career, she always ensured young people participate actively in decision making. That is why she initiated the Youth Sounding Board and always see the need for young people to really make their voices heard. So after the first meeting, we started our first engagement by putting our ideas into the Youth Action Plan. So the Youth Action Plan is European Commission's new effort to have like a kind of plan for EU's external action. So we had the opportunity to put our ideas first on how the plan should look like, who are to be consulted, and what should the plan look like. And I'm sure like some of you will be consulted in the course of the consultation process. So that is all. Then finally, my advice for you as members of the Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria is to take this as good opportunity to shape policies and programs of the European Union in Nigeria. You all know European Union is one of the biggest donors in Nigeria and one of the big players in the international development space. So this is good opportunity to ensure you really influence their youth-focused programs to make sure they are more impactful and to make sure they reach the target young people. Secondly, it's a good thing to always consult other young people because only 25 of you are selected. It means you are representing millions of other young Nigerians. So whenever you have opportunity to give advice or to attend event, make sure you do like a simple consultation. It can be online consultation, maybe on social media to ask other young people. It can also be organizing a simple focus group discussions, especially for young people that are not on social media and they may not have the opportunity to really know what is happening. So always reach out to them. You are not just the only young Nigerians. So make sure you always represent other young people. Listen to them and make sure like when you are presenting your recommendation, make sure you emphasize that this is something that is not only about your views, it's also about views of other Nigerians that you consulted. So this is all my message for now. But once again, congratulations, and I wish you a successful orientation, and I wish you successful engagement as members of the Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. Bye.
That's the voice of one that has gone ahead of you people. So it's what's imbibing the lessons he has to learn. And I will advise that you keep closely in touch with him. Yes. At this moment, may I ask that, may I recognize the presence of the Director Networks and Social Mobilization Department of the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Madam Amina Mohammed Daura. She accompanied the Minister of Youth and Sports to this place. Thank you very much. Now, just to give us a little bit of clarity in all of this, in the selection process of the Youth Sounding Board Nigeria, I'd like to call on the Program Manager for Youth and Governance and everything that she takes care. She does take care of the youth and governance in the delegation. Her name is Esme Stuart. She will give us a brief on how this board was chosen and what they ought to be doing.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Now, all of you know me. We have been in contact for a few weeks now, so it's a great pleasure to address you here from this stage today. I hope you're enjoying the program so far. Yes, we heard a lot about your selection. 25 people have been selected. So, of course, everyone is wondering why you, and maybe you're even wondering that yourself. So the selection process was based on first an application round. You have all submitted your application forms. You elaborated on your motivation. Why do you want to be part of this Youth Sounding Board? What shows that you are actually motivated? What are you already doing? How are you working in your respective communities, whether it's online, whether it's in the places where you live? And what have you been doing to engage with youth, to empower them? And for some of the people that are watching online, you know, we had hundreds of applications, and we were really touched by the number of young people, young Nigerians, that are pushing them or making efforts to engage and empower young people in their own communities. And I think that's something that we also need to recognize here. So after reviewing the applications, we looked at your motivation, we looked at how you engage already, what you have been doing, and we have also looked at your concrete ideas that you bring to the table for this Youth Sounding Board. It's a new initiative, so that also means that we haven't rolled out the way of how this is going to work exactly. This is also something that we expect from you, and all of you have showed great ideas of how to, what to do as Youth Sounding Board members. Now, of course, in the selection process, we have also spoken to you in an interview, because sometimes it's easy to put some things on paper, but it's something else to really represent or say these things when you're speaking with someone. So in that process, we have not only looked at your motivation, what you have done, but we also looked at a diversity, representation of all geopolitical zones of Nigeria. You know, Nigeria is a very diverse country, so we couldn't do anything without recognizing the different geopolitical zones. We have also looked at ensuring a gender balance between men and women. And we have looked at your backgrounds. Some of you are 18 years old or just about 20 years. Some of you are a little bit older with some other experiences. So those things were taken into account into the selection process. And I hope that clarifies. I wish you a great rest of the day. And I hope you really take on board some of the things that we're trying to transmit this morning, some of the lessons that Imran shared. I think these are very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esme. That's well understood. And on that note, I'd like to call one of the board members. I did mention to you yesterday that I'll call at random. And today, the name that comes strong for me to present is Sumaya Adetomi Ajani. The idea is that just come and tell us why we have heard what the criteria is for choosing you. Is Sumaya here? Okay. Sumaya, please come. Just tell us why you think you, tell us what you do and why you were chosen to come, and why you think you were selected for, to be a member of the Youth Sounding Board. Thank you.
All right, good day, everyone. And I would, first of all, like to say that it's an honor to stand in front of you all today. And it's really also an honor and, yes, a privilege to be selected as one of the 25 sounding board members. So I'll just go right ahead to explain why I applied to the board. So yeah, first for me it is that I applied to the Youth Sounding Board because I'm a young, passionate individual committed to facilitating and realizing positive, sustainable changes in my local community and in the global space as well. So whenever it comes to ensuring that there is change, sustainable change at that, I'm really passionate about that. So whether it's about climate justice, humanitarianism, or youth inclusion in dispute resolution processes, becoming a board member means having a global impact to my local initiatives on these issues and so many more. Yeah, because I'm a climate justice activist and I would say advocate for now. I'm a climate justice advocate. So I believe that becoming a member of the board would ensure that I translate my energy, my local initiatives into the global space, and as well give me more leverage to, you know, do better in Nigeria. And lastly, I would like to say that I applied to also avail myself of the opportunity to enhance and facilitate this smooth and goal-driven relationship between the EU and Nigeria for a remarkable effectiveness and progress. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sumaya. That was clear. at some point. One of you will be called up at some point also. Thank you very much. Just to tell us what you do and why you think you have been chosen to be part of the Youth Sounding Board. At this point, I have the singular honor to call on the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Mr. Sunday Dare, for a brief remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to everyone here. Good morning. I always get, I need to feel the energy in this room. There are youth in this room. Good morning. Thank you. I want to just quickly run through a 1-minute protocol. The EU Chargé d'Affaires, Mr. Alexandre Borgi-Combs, the Deputy Director for Africa EU, Mr. Francesca De Mauro, the EU Head of Cooperation, other members of the EU delegation, our panelists this afternoon, the young, lucky 25 youth here in their beautiful blue t-shirts. I hope I'm going to get my own before I leave here this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the European Union first for my invitation to be part of this. It's not a question of the size or the quantity. It's a question of the quality of the audience and the quality of the idea behind this initiative this morning. I want to also thank the European Union because they have been worthy partners in the process of youth development in various spheres. I've attended about 2 or 3 of your events focused on youth, both empowerment and investment. And I want to sincerely thank the European Union for being worthy partners on this journey. The federal government has made it very clear that youth development efforts cannot only be done by the federal government or my ministry, but by collaborating partners. And that's why the concept of having strategic implementation partners has become the rubric of our engagement. And the EU sits in a very vital role in this respect. Therefore, the EU Youth Sounding Board, it's a welcome idea. Of course, I didn't know about it until about a week ago, but the moment I knew about it, it sounded something in my head. And that's the fact that the continuous engagement of our youth is the only way we can meet them at the point of their needs. We can deal with the issue, the burning issue of inclusiveness, either in governance, either in their development, or even the path of careers they want to choose. I want to also say that this morning, the 25 youth that have been picked, and I'm sure, as we have heard earlier, it was a thorough process. And because of the confidence I have in the average Nigerian youth, I'm sure these 25 will be worthy ambassadors, and they will go beyond just what they will learn to also make sure that other youth around them in their communities, in their workplaces, in their societies also benefit from this process. So the EU Sounding Board is another opportunity which even the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development wishes to embrace, to welcome, because it opens a window of opportunity for our youth. I want to make just a few important points here and pointers as to where we're headed. I think there's a need for an agenda for action for the Nigerian youth. I've seen the demands of youth, the issues for youth build up and grow in different directions. I've seen the EU, the United States, Canada, a lot of other bodies in our country and outside try to address the issues of youth. But I'm yet to see an agenda for action, a 4-item agenda for action. I've had a thought process. Unless we pin it down to specifics, because other issues criteria to speak, and I've said this elsewhere, as the EU plans some of these youth initiatives, it will be glad to do something like this. Of course, your process will be entirely your process without any attempt to influence it, but we can bring some value to that process. Now, I will just take 2 minutes, if you let me, to say something that is also reinforcing to these youth onboarders. In June this year, I was at the NYSC camp, and we onboarded 1,000 Nigerian youth to join what we call the DEAL program. The DEAL program has become the flagship of youth development in the country since I became minister. That's DEEL. The first D stands for Digital Skills, Literacy and Acquisition. Because of the digital skills gap, we're committed, this government, under President Muhammadu Buhari, is committed to upskilling our youths, about 200,000 to 500,000, in providing skills for them. Not just our ministry, but a lot of, about 7 other collaborating ministries and departments and agencies of government, helping to upskill our youth to provide them critical digital skills. The first E stands for entrepreneurship. We have seen that through SMEs, through entrepreneurship, we're able to fight the scourge of youth unemployment. No country has been able to solve youth employment without deliberately placing a large number of its youth on the path of entrepreneurship. The AFDB has emphasized that shift from empowerment to investment in our youth, the creation of youth banks that will provide soft loans and assistance to our youth. The second E stands for employability. We talk about the double added advantage. Beyond just the certificates now, we need to make our youth employable. We need to give them practical experience. And under that, about a year ago, we started what we call the Work Experience Program, WEP, which places our youth who are still looking for a job on a 3-month paid internship to get cognate experience. And that gives them some added value and advantage on their certificates that they have. I'm glad the federal government has taken that further through the Jubilee Fellowship that grants a 1-year internship that is fully paid. Now, that's part of the reinforcing that we talk about. The last one is leadership and mentoring. And I'd like to speak about this because leadership is, they say the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. But I say that leadership starts now. It starts with this kind of training ground, this kind of involvement and engagement. We prepare our leaders from today, and we're working on that. Finally, each time I speak, I always talk about the Nigerian Youth Investment Fund because it's a pioneering effort. It's a paradigm shift for Nigeria when it comes to youth engagement. For the very first time, under President Muhammadu Buhari, in July last year, a Nigerian Youth Investment Fund was established. That fund is to invest in the innovative skills, the ideas, the enterprise of our youth, not giving them just mere stipend, but banking on their ideas, taking the risk, taking the bet on our youth. And our youth can get between 250,000 to 50 million. We have just started slowly. About 6,000 Nigerian youth have benefited. But as we open the second stage of that, we're going to see an upscaling, 20,000, 50,000 Nigerian youth, as long as they apply themselves to that process, as long as they have a business idea that is ongoing or a business idea that is about to start, they can earn this money. And for us, it moves the conversation forward beyond just empowerment into investment, which is the future. Finally, I have something here I want to share, which the campaign starts today, and I want to share it. About a year ago, we all know what happened about a year ago, about 11 months ago precisely. And since that event, we have seen various levels of Nigerian government activated in making sure that the engagement of our youth, the support to our youth is accelerated. And as a ministry with the mandate for youth development, we've also taken up this challenge. Now, exactly 1 month from today, we're going to have the first National Youth Conference, or CONFAB. 370 Nigerian youth under one roof, meeting for 4 days in 5 thematic areas. And that's the agenda I'm talking about. They will meet 5 thematic areas. They will come up with the ideas, they will come up with what they want, an agenda for action. And they will put all that together as a country and present it to the federal government. We believe that will be a major event for our youth. 10 Nigerian youth will come from each state. Each state will select 10 Nigerian youth based on certain criteria. They will send this youth to Abuja. We're going to have experts. The youth will be talking to themselves. We're going to create a youth village. There's going to be a job fair and some other fairs. And we believe that the birth of this National Youth Conference and the expected outcomes will chart a new direction in youth engagement. Invitations will be coming to the EU to participate, to speak, and to work with our thematic groups as we put this together. This is what it looks like. The collaterals, the adverts, the teasers will start coming out today. It's exactly 1 month from that day. And we hope that this will gladden the hearts of our youth because they've asked for inclusiveness, they've asked for partnership. This is the opportunity. Once again, I want to thank the EU for the EU Sounding Board. I wish that we had more than 25 slots, because when you look at the youth bulge in this country, the challenge we have is about scaling in terms of opportunities, the numbers of our youth that can get involved in so many of these programs. But once again, I thank you, and I wish you a very good day and deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Always a pleasure to hear you. And the European Union has taken notes of the advice you gave regarding involving your ministry. Also, for you, the Youth Sounding Board members, the minister is confident that you would be worthy ambassadors of Nigeria and of Europe. Yeah? So I think that deserves a round of applause for you. Thank you very much, sir. Now, may I call on one more youth, one of the members to come up? Who will I choose at this point in time? Abba Ali Yerima Mustafa. Are you here? Please come, Abba. 2 minutes before the Honorable Minister goes.
Okay, my name is Abba Ali Yerima Mustafa from Maiduguri, Borno State, the northern part of Nigeria. I think the main reason why I applied for the Youth Sounding Board was because of the ongoing conflict in the northeastern part of my country. As we all know, one of the key thematic areas of the EU was peace, governance, and migration, and that's something that I am really passionate about, seeing the conflict ravage in my hometown. I work with various grassroots youth organizations, and I have also had the chance to be part of other international diplomacy organizations to see that I have contributed my own quota as young people to the peaceful coexistence of my people in Maiduguri. When this opportunity knocks at my door, I saw the advert online, and then I was like, oh, the EU is the biggest donor to a lot of INGOs in Maiduguri, a lot of other national organizations in Maiduguri. And these organizations are directly working with affected victims of insurgency. And I was like, okay, in this case, we should be having, I think as young people, we should be having that space at this board to see how we can be able to influence decisions that have to do with funding that directly goes to these organizations that work toward peace building in Maiduguri. And I applied for this, and thankfully to God, I was able to be selected to this board member. And when I met my colleagues here, who are also doing very wonderful works, the 25 other members, it was no doubt that all of us were selected based on competence, and like they said, based on some of the criteria, but I believe it's more based on the competence. And I think that's all that I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd like to also state that the selection process also put into cognizance the fact that majority of them are from the 6 geopolitical zones. So people were not just selected from a particular zone. As much as the person is qualified, and you're a member, you're from the 6 political zones, that was how they were selected. So please, thank you very much for that. Abba, thank you very much. We appreciate your contribution. May we call on the National Planning Commission, the Director for International Cooperation, Ms. Elizabeth Egareva. Thank you for a brief remark from the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam MC. Just to correct that, it's not the National Planning Commission any longer. We have been merged, and we are now the Ministry of Finance, Budget, and National Planning. On that note, I'd like to recognize the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sport Development. Good morning, sir. His Excellency, the EU Charge d'Affaires, the EU Deputy Director for Africa, the Head of Cooperation, other representatives of government agencies and international organizations here present. Of course, the young people that are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am pleased to have been invited to make a few remarks on this auspicious occasion for the launch of the EU Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. This event is an indication of the EU's new orientation for the 2021 to 2027 programming cycle and its wealth of experience as a fervent partner for global development. The Youth Sounding Board is indeed a welcome development in Nigeria, given our demography of young people and the need to showcase possibilities in mainstreaming the youth agenda for inclusive growth, equity, and sustainable development. It is well established that the youth bulge in Nigeria is huge, and we as policymakers need to capitalize on this strength, so efforts for provision of educational opportunities, employment, access to health services, and other services for good quality of life would not be sustainable if they are not responsive to the present and future needs of the populace through the involvement of all interest groups, especially the young ones, in policy setting and decision making. The specific lessons in the context of Nigeria are well noted in the diagnosis of issues for the successor medium-term National Development Plan. Our ministry is about concluding a medium-term National Development Plan 2021 to 2025 and the Nigerian Agenda 2050, which is the longer perspective plan. And Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I need to let you know that the steps being taken by the EU delegation today is also in line with the disposition of the current administration for youth inclusion in the governance process. The Honorable Minister has already enumerated a lot of programs he has put together for the young ones. We too, at our ministry, through the medium-term development plan, we envisage an increased participation of the young people in governance through existing platforms, as well as the implementation of relevant legislation in this regard. This is to be achieved through the creation of awareness and leveraging on platforms such as the National Youth Council of Nigeria, the National Youth Parliament, and so many other platforms for the young ones, towards engaging the youth in the political process while working to resolve issues that create mistrust within such platforms. It is worthy to note that we had various technical working groups when we were developing the plan, and there were young people that were deliberately chosen to be members of those technical working groups. And I want to state clearly here that they actually distinguished themselves through their valuable contributions and inputs in conceiving the broad-based initiatives for harnessing the innate creativity and resource of our youth population while addressing the yearnings of other interest groups alike. The Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning will therefore leave no stone unturned in giving a voice to all interest groups, especially the youth, in the implementation of the Medium-Term National Development Plan, which we call the MTNDP, and the Agenda 2050, being the strategic blueprints for public governance for the long term. As the federal government seeks to harness local and international partnerships towards meeting the national development aspirations, I therefore wish to draw the attention of the 25 privileged members of the EU Youth Sounding Board to consider themselves, so please consider yourselves, as ambassadors and change agents who are committed to advancing the mutual objectives of the Nigerian EU Development Cooperation. In carrying out your tasks, young ones, please be reminded to always clarify and have a clear understanding of the vision and policy thrust of government's plans, programs, and projects for informed decision that will add value to the long history of our partnership with the EU. Also note, young people, that your comportment, your courage, your conduct, your humility, your firmness, and participation are attributes that can earn you and your country respect and recognition. This opportunity in itself places you in a position to serve as role models for influencing our demographic majority to move beyond being social media champions or pressure group leaders towards active participation in the political process. Also, voter registration, membership of political parties, constructive interest, and involvement in the governance system remain the most important avenues for the young ones to affect the lives and fortunes of people in the most profound ways. The global consensus on youth development clearly underscores the need to ensure the inclusion of youth perspectives in the development process, along with the effective participation of young people in development efforts. On this note, I'd like to commend the EU once again for the initiative of the Youth Sounding Board. I look forward to further conversation with the head of cooperation and other members of the Youth Sounding Board in terms of sharing lessons from closely related practices with other bilateral development partners. Thank you very much for listening.
That is really very clear. To the youth, when mothers come to the scene, you know how they will have advised you. She has advised about your courage and your confidence, and that if you bring it to bear, you should, the end of it all is that we are, just make Nigeria proud in all of this. Okay, thank you very much, Madam Elizabeth Ehereva. May I call on the Special Assistant to the President on Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Mr. Ifoluwa Adebayo, for a brief remark representing the VP. Okay, looks like he's not here yet. Okay, so now that brings us to the main job of the day, the launching of the Youth Sounding Board. Okay, and I would like to call on the Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development and the head of EU Cooperation, Cecile, to please come for the opening. Is actually to unveil this.
It gives me great pleasure on this day, the 13th day of September 2021, to unveil the European Union Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. But beyond that, to thank the European Union for being worthy partners with the Nigerian government in the aspect of youth development. And I know that extends into several other spheres of intergovernmental efforts and also diplomatic relations. So on behalf of the European Union and on behalf of the mass of Nigerian youth who are represented by 25 lucky ambassadors, I have the pleasure this morning, with the help of Cecile Teslin, to unveil the European Union Youth Sounding Board in Nigeria. You can see their faces.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Cecile. Yes, please. At this point in time, may I have the 25 members, I hope this can carry all of us. Yes, to come out for the group photograph, please. Cecile, please, you'll be part of it. UNICEF, Esme. Those of you that are as light as I am can actually climb up. Please come through. Yeah. Sorry. The stage can take everyone, so please come up. Please come up, please. Okay. Congratulations to our 25 members of the board, of the Youth Sounding Board. Congratulations. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister of Youth and Sports Development. We appreciate your presence anytime. It's actually time for us to have a tea break, and we continue thereafter. And if you just walk out to my left, you would see a table served for a break, for the tea break, just to my left. And you're going to be gone for just 10 minutes. Please relax for 10 minutes and then come back again. We still have a lot on the table for you, our 25 members. There's a panel discussion. And there's also a breakout session for all of us. So please relax. The day is still young. have our mask on at all times. In the little bag that you have, there is a hand sanitizer. Please use that intermittently. Please use your hand sanitizer. For the benefit of those who were not here earlier, if you need to use the convenience, please, one of the ushers will guide you. However, if you go out to from the first door, make a left, a right, and a right again. And if you go out through this other door, make a left and a left again. It will lead you to both the male and the female conveniences. Thank you. We must wear our face masks at all times, unless, of course, we are speaking or eating. Now, we have come to the panel discussion. And moderating these segments is the Executive Director of Youth Hub Africa, Mr. Rotimi Olawale. Rotimi, I might as well just have you call out the names of the panelists. And it's your show henceforth, so just call out the names of the people that you're working with. And you want me to do it? Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, colleagues. If you're happy to be here, say ha 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 ha. Some people's maybe meat pie or chicken is still stuck in their throats. They can't say ha 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 very well. If you're happy to be here, say ha 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 ha. All right, now I can hear you clearly. My name is Rotimi Olawale, and it's my pleasure to be here today to moderate this panel session. I would quickly invite to join me on this podium the members of the panel, and would have quite an interesting conversation and dialogue exchanging with them, and also taking some feedback from the audience and potentially also from those who are watching us online. Let me ask to join me on this panel, Cecile Tassin-Pelzer, the EU Head of Cooperation. Please, a round of applause for her. To the best of my knowledge, she is new in Nigeria. And one question I always ask all the people who come into Nigeria is that you have to eat the Nigerian jollof, right? Have you had the opportunity to eat Nigerian jollof? Yes, no? Have you had the opportunity to eat Nigerian jollof rice? Yes. Yes. You have to.
Thank you. I was previously based in Senegal.
Okay.
And you know there is this controversy that Senegal says they have invented jollof rice. Mm-hmm. No, but
I don't debate that. I always say to my friends across the continent, Senegal invented jollof, Ghana learned it from them, and Nigeria made it an international dish.
Yes.
Do you agree? Thank you very much. Yeah.
Very good.
All right, thank you. I would like to also ask to join us here, Rushnan Murtaza, the Deputy Country Rep, UNICEF. A round of applause for her. Next on the panel would be Brenda Unwotsa, the Gender and Youth Development Expert with BLAC. I would also like to invite Manju Wilson, the Deputy Project Coordinator with ECES. And last but not the least, I would like to invite Mr. Ibrahim Farouk, Program Manager with IAGA, to also join us. you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on today's panel. We would have quite a good conversation discussing about young people in Nigeria and the work that you have been doing to support youth development efforts across Nigeria over the last couple of years. Let me start my first question with Brenda, who works with PLAC. Can you tell us a bit about the work that PLAC does? One of your most popular work is your internship, your legislative internship project, and I'm sure that that is supported by the European Union. Yeah. All right, can you tell us about a bit of what PLAC does and the internship project and the other work that you have also been supported by the EU and the impact that's created in the community?
All right. All protocols are duly observed. Thank you so much for your question. Sometimes I like to put things in context because personally it helps me understand things. And to answer that question, I think it's important to introduce certain things. So for instance, we've seen recently, whether with the We Too movement, the Me Too movement, Black Lives Matters, and then a few years ago with the Arab Spring, we've seen a lot of dissatisfaction with government institutions all around the world. I know that in 2016, even in Europe, a pan-European political party called Volt, a member was actually elected into the European Parliament, and local councillors were also elected through that party. And that party felt that young people's voices needed to be heard. In the same way in Nigeria, beyond the NSAS movement, which the Minister of Youth and Sports alluded to in his presentation, are people who want to engage in political participation, young Nigerian citizens who want to be heard, who want to be part of policy making, who feel disenfranchised, and who also want to have an idea of how to engage in policy making. And the legislative internship program that PLAC runs with support of the European Union is an amazing way that PLAC engages with young Nigerians aged 18 to 35 to participate in policy making and demystify what policy making is in Nigeria. So what we basically do is to put young Nigerians from each geopolitical zone, generally one state each, in Nigeria, and then the FCT is also represented. We deploy them to the National Assembly, where they spend 10 weeks in the National Assembly learning about legislative processes through attending committee meetings, plenary sessions, and even attending bi-weekly meetings at the PLAC office, where we build their capacity on policy making in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. I'll come back to you again for my second question before I go to other panelists. Interestingly, I've had the opportunity to intern at House of Assembly, Osun State, that's my state, I think way back in 2005. And one thing I always say from that experience, it was a 6 weeks program, is that at that point, I was very idealistic as a young person. I want change to happen like now. I want bills to be passed. But I got to have a sense of the rudiments of lawmaking, the processes that it takes, sometimes also the back dealings. Many times we think that the back dealings is also only in Nigeria. We accuse everything as corruption, but we forget that the honorables are elected by their constituency to defend their constituency. So sometimes it's not corruption, it's that maybe they want to establish a university. Every House of Assembly member wants that university to be cited in their constituency. So there's a lot of lobbying, there's a lot of back trading, and I benefited a lot from that experience. In your own experience, and also with the way that young people in Nigeria constantly push for
all that, and in fact, it's a testament of how sound some of the persons that we've picked are, because even 2 of the interns that passed through our 2020 program are here, Stephen Onemisi and Iswat Taiwo. And to me, like you said, I don't think it's a one-off thing. I think it's something that we must continue to collaborate, continue speaking out, continue voicing our opinions till we get the change that we're all clamoring for and the change that we deserve.
Thank you very much. Let me go to UNICEF, Roshnan. How does the EU and UNICEF work together to support the young people of Nigeria? And as a rider to that question also, I know one of your most popular platform is the U-Report platform, which has been very innovative, and I think Nigeria has one of the highest numbers, maybe on the continent or even globally. How are you using that platform to empower young people to make their voices heard?
Good, great. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. If I, with your permission, if I can start about jollof rice first. I have been in Africa now 18 years, and the last 8-9 years I've been in West Africa. And you'll be surprised to hear that in Sierra Leone I had organized a jollof rice competition among all the West African countries. And I will not tell you who got the first prize. So that... So no, so again, it's great to be here, and thanks for the question. Of course, UNICEF, as you all know, that it was created after the Second World War. Particularly, UNICEF was known as the Milk Organization because they were known as the emergency relief. That's how we started. But now, of course, UNICEF is only known by the United Nations Children's Fund, or Children's Organization. So, and in Nigeria, it has been there since the 1950s, started as aid organization, and then later with the 1989, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, which UNICEF is governed by, we opened more areas of programming. Unlike, it was interesting to hear about the governance, how young people are participating in the governance system, but UNICEF definitely is about children, but we also expand to the age of 24, which we call the young people, which 15 to 24, and of course more youth on the partnership between adults and the young people. One of the priorities are looking at the social sector. So we are all about for young people, for children, with young people, and with children. So that is our mantra as UNICEF. And EU, again, thanks to the EU colleagues here, they have been pioneers, they have been a support to Nigeria with all the programs that we are partnering with UNICEF. EU is partnering with us, or we are partnering with them. Young people's participation to look at young people, particularly girls, has been a priority. And this has been a big program for us in the Northeast, where not only it is about the response to education, which is absolutely critical for all of you who are sitting here and all of you who are hearing me, but also to look at how do we bring the girls, how do we create that network, and if they're abused, how do we support them by a peer network. Beyond that, when I come to U-Report, as was mentioned, that yes, globally we are one of the highest. We have nearly 3.6 million Nigerians who are registered as U-Reporters. And then at any given time, we have 500 to 600,000 young people participating. We also have a program called 24/7, which is in Borno, where young people, around 250,000 young people, are always mobilized to look at the situation in Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. That's called the 24/7. Now, young people, how we are engaging with young people, I think you know it better than me. We always reach out to you, not as an information flow, because you are the change makers, so we do give you the right information, but also we always want to hear from you what is happening around you, what is happening in the community. As the Honorable Minister had said, that you have access to other young people. So it's not only about what you know or the you reporters know, but what is really happening in the community. So you are really the pioneers and the center for us to monitor, to generate evidence so that we do the right thing. I will leave it here, but if there's any question, I will take it from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think one of the reasons why this panel is convened is to find opportunities for the Youth Sounding Board, because I feel their role is they are a sounding board representing all the young people of Nigeria. Are there opportunities for the Youth Sounding Board to engage with the U Report, for instance, to get feedback on some of the things that they're working on through that platform and also through 247? Would there be some opportunities to explore on these platforms?
Thanks. No, you're not putting me on the spot. It's absolutely correct. I don't know how many young people who are here are you reporters. Maybe some, maybe not. But okay, there you go. At least I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, quite a few. So it already says that there will be a partnership, yeah? And it would be a partnership depending on expanding beyond the 25 young people for the sounding board, if EU is wanting, and which would be necessary or interested, all the data that we are collecting. U-Report has been extremely effective, even with the Ministry of Health for the COVID response, because we were constantly getting what is happening and what do they need to know. And they have actually been our parameters, our framework for programming. Just before, a few months back when we were again with the U-Reporters, it was very clear that much more men or boys were getting vaccinated than girls, yeah, which is mostly what we had expected. But we are constantly using this information to address the program. So I'm sure going forward with EU, that would be one of the partnership, and they are most welcome. It's young people, so I'm sure they're going to open it up. Thanks.
A round of applause for her. And I always like to push and press forward. I know later this afternoon they would elect the representative of the Youth Sounding Board, right? Please hold her so that partnership can be well cemented and you can have.
I'm leaving before that.
I'm sure they will get your email through means. Yeah, thank you. Let me go to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, I know Yaga has worked extensively on what is potentially the most powerful legislation for young people working on governance in Nigeria, the Not Too Young to Run bill. I don't think there's any young person in this room who haven't heard about the Not Too Young to Run. If you haven't heard about Not Too Young to Run bill, let me see your hand. No, boy. Yeah, one person. You've not heard about it. I said, oh, people who haven't heard about it. All right, thank you. And as a rider to that also, IAGA is currently working, promoting the CVR, the Continuous Voters Registration, encouraging young people to register and deploying teams across the nation to take that opportunity for registration closer to young people. I'm sure the EU is supporting this. Can you tell us what is the motivation behind this, the Ready form and all the work that IAGA is doing?
Thank you very much, Rotimi. But before I answer your question, let me say congratulations to all of you, 25 of you who are members of the EU Youth Sounding Board. And maybe just to re-echo what some of the previous speakers have said, Imrana and the minister as well, you represent the largest demographic that we have in this country. You represent the youth population. There were so many applications, and you are privileged to have been selected. So please do not take this opportunity for granted. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. But to speak about some of the work that we're doing, and I'm glad Rotimi did that short poll to ask, has anyone not heard about Not Too Young to Run? So all of us have heard about Not Too Young to Run. But after the Not Too Young to Run movement, we had something else that was supported by the EU, which was called Ready to Run. And this stemmed from the fact that while we're pushing for that constitutional amendment, one of the things that we kept on hearing was young people are not ready. And So Ready to Run was a follow-up from Not Too Young to Run, to build the capacity of young men, young women, and persons with disabilities to be able to effectively run for office. But one of the things that stood out very importantly for me and was very striking was the fact that when we are talking about political inclusion, one thing that we always see many times is that the political inclusion of women, or the participation of women and girls, is very low, almost abysmal. We built a database of young people who wanted to run for office, and there were only about 7% of them were young women. And I think this is an opportunity for us who are sitting up here, and also for you, members of the Youth Sounding Board, to find what are those opportunities that we can increase the participation of women, especially in governance processes, or in any of the areas that you work on. I was actually looking in the room and looking at the board to see if we had kind of a gender balance, and we definitely do. And so I hope that we can take that moving forward into the work that you do as members of the Youth Sounding Board. But as we continue, and you know that we have elections in about 2 years, or less than 2 years, in 2023, it's an opportunity for us, one, to promote the inclusion of young men, young women, and persons with disabilities in our processes. Not everyone would be able to run for office, but there are other ways that you can participate. And Rotimi, you alluded to the fact that you need to go out and register to vote. If I was on the selection panel, I'll probably have asked each one of you if you had registered to vote. And if you hadn't registered to vote, maybe I wouldn't. That's just a joke. But I hope that you see how serious it is, and you take the opportunity, if you haven't, to register to vote in the upcoming election, and to encourage many others to register and vote. The Independent National Electoral Commission has made the process a lot easier for you to register and to vote. I can see many of you with your cell phones. You can pre-register online. It takes about 15 minutes or less, and then you get a date and you go to the INEC office. But as we continue to engage and talking about political inclusion and how the EU supported that, there are many ways that we did. On Channels TV, for instance, we had a television program that was just for young people who were able to come, primetime television every evening, once a week, to talk about why they were running for office and why we should support them. And it's because our democracy is about inclusion, it's about representation. And I think the fact that there's a Youth Sounding Board as well reflects that inclusion that we need to see, get young men and young women, different interests in our society represented in the programs that the European Union is going to be carrying out over the next few months. I know Rotimi is still going to fire some more questions at me, but I'll just stop here and over to you.
Just a simple question. Are you encouraging members of the Youth Sounding Board to run for office?
No, I'm not encouraging members of the Youth Sounding Board to run for office. I'm asking you to be an active citizen, to participate in the things that affect us as a country. Every time I look at our election statistics, for instance, there was a by-election in Delta, I think, last weekend, and turnout was 16.4%. So it's just 16% of registered voters that determined who becomes their representative. A member of the House of Assembly got less than 6,500 votes, and he's a member of the State House of Assembly. And every time I see that, I tell myself, I think I can get 6,500 votes in my constituency as well. But if we get more people to come out and register to vote, it also increases the legitimacy of our elected officials. I know as young people, many times we feel like, does it make any sense? Why should I participate? But the importance of it is that you're making decisions. You're affecting what happens now and what is going to happen to other young people in the future as well.
Thank you very much. And I like that you talked about how it's now easy for people to register to vote. Those of us that registered between 2007 and 2015, I always say it was the analog stage, right? For those of you that registered there, you have to do long queues. We took breaks in my office for people to go and register. Sometimes they use the entire day, they are not successful, and then you go back to look for your card. I recall looking for my card in 2015, and it was just by chance. I've been there like 3 or 4 times, and then one day I drove from the office and went there, and suddenly I found mine, and I found for 2 friends also, and I called them, I have seen your card, you come right now to pick your card. It was an hectic process. But I also know it's also a difficult process, trying to register millions and millions of people all across the country. We don't have effective postal system to post people's cards to them personally. People have to pick up, and sometimes it can be a cumbersome process. And I think that's where Manje Wilson comes in, the work that ECES have been doing to strengthen the electoral system across Nigeria, providing some support for INEC. And I would like you to elaborate on that. Many young people feel that Nigeria's electoral system is not strong enough. Sometimes people accuse and say our votes do not count. In your own assessment, what is the work that the ECS doing in strengthening the electoral system in Nigeria, and what role can the Youth Sounding Board play to support stakeholders within this process?
Thank you very much, Rotimi. I think the energy in the room is a bit low, considering the fact that we have a lot of youths in the room. Greatest Nigerian youths? Greatest Nigerian youths? I was thinking whether it was the air condition or the face mask. I wasn't too sure. So we are here, of course, as young people, and I expect that you also use this energy, when you find yourselves in bigger platform to discuss the issues that you would all be advocating for in the coming months, 24 months, as the case is. Thank you very much, Rotimi, for that question. Incidentally, we've been working closely with two of the individuals on the panel today, Plak and Yaga. So for the European Center for Electoral Support, which is a not-for-profit foundation with headquarters in Brussels, we have been working to strengthen electoral processes across the globe, primarily in Africa. Here in Nigeria, we are part of a cohort of about 12 implementing partners that are currently implementing the European Union Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria program, which focuses on it's broken down into 5 components and working across several thematic areas. The legislative action is what Plak and Yaga has been working on. We have the component of political party support, media support, and also support to citizens' engagement and civil society organizations. Our component focuses on the support to INEC, the election management body. Right from 2017, when this program began, we have been implementing several programs to support the Electoral Commission deliver on its mandate of conducting an election that is credible and acceptable to all Nigerians. One of the initiatives that we jointly conducted with the European Union, Yaga and other EU SDGen colleagues was what we termed the Youth Vote Counts Campus Outreach campaign, which was jointly designed with the Electoral Commission and the EU partners, specifically as a solution towards engaging young people in Nigeria. We had a lot of discussions around how we can be able to provide, an engagement platform for young people to be able to share their thoughts and ideas of how they think they can be better, engaged in the electoral process. And in 2018, ahead of the 2019 elections, we organized about 6 campus outreaches across the country, which had physical attendance of about 12,000 Nigerian students in 6 tertiary institutions, an online audience with hits amounting to over 60 million per event across social media because we tracked it. And one significant innovation that was implemented during that particular campaign was a roving system for registration. So together with the Electoral Commission, we decided to see how we can not just speak with young people and ask them to participate, but how we can also provide them, first-hand experiences in terms of registering to become eligible voters. And the Electoral Commission set up, physical, systems for registration in these institutions. And at the end of the process, we were able to register about 27,000 students as first-time voters on the spot during that, that particular engagement. We saw this as a very, very useful platform. And you asked the question that young people are worried whether their votes will count. And I recall there was a recurring statement by the Electoral Commission Chairman, Professor Mahmoud, during our campaigns. And he kept on asking the youths a question. If your votes do not count, why do politicians spend all these billions trying to procure your votes? It's because there is something there that they are trying to ensure that you are not fully aware of. So indeed, your vote counts. I believe that whether you vote or you don't vote, your vote will still count. Because if you vote, you have the opportunity to elect your representatives. If you don't, you give others the opportunity to elect representatives on your behalf. And whatever the outcome of that process will be dependent on your action. We also, designed, some very innovative programs. One was an election song for the Electoral Commission that was circulated all across television and radio stations in the country. We monitored, the broadcast of that as well, reaching millions, of Nigerians, sending across the message of nonviolent participation, inclusion, and seeing how young people could better participate in the process. One data you should also know is that for every election, INEC engages, at least for the 2019 election, about 600,000 ad hoc staff, majorly the young people. Majorly young people. Our sensitization exercise within the campus outreach was meant to make the young people realize how important their power is. For some of you that are not aware, pronouncement. So your positive participation to that process is very, very key. When you decide to possess, very good qualities of incorruptibility and not engaging in actions that will subvert the process, you are contributing positively to the process. And I think as youth sounding board members, you have a very critical role to sound this message to, other young people and let them realize that a lot of the outcomes of our electoral processes are dependent on their actions or their inactions.
This is some support from the European Union. We have indeed supported various youth-oriented or youth-focused projects and programs. Yes, we can do better, and I think that this is what we are trying now. It's really to go even further, to really mainstream to youth, not only support, but implication, to put youth in the heart, the core of what we want to do. So now the idea is not only to have programs supporting youth, but it's also to have youth participating to the design of our programs. We want to even to have youth being part of the decision-making process. We want to have, to take into consideration young Nigerians, as you all say, they are the majority of the population. We want to take them into consideration in everything that we do, be economic development, social development, political governance, and so this is, and also we want to help them to networking between themselves, and we heard from your example that that's very important. So we hope, I agree we can do better, and we hope this is what we are going to do with this youth sounding board. The European Union has, I think, it's not new that we support young people, but now we want really also in a way actually young people to support us to work better. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would ask you a second question, but before I go to that, we will take some questions on Slido, slido.com, slido.com, and I think the passcode is 839595. 839595. So you can put your questions on Slido, and if you see any questions that you like on Slido, just like it, and then the questions can come all the way up. Now, the EU is launching the Youth Sounding Board. Why are you launching a Youth Sounding Board, and are you giving assurances that this group of 25 young people, when they provide feedback and advice on the design of your project, that you are going to take this and run with it?
Can you repeat? Oh, sorry.
My question is that the EU is launching a youth sounding board. Why are you launching a youth sounding board? And if this group of young people, bright young people that you've selected from across Nigeria, when they provide advice to strengthen the EU processes and projects, are you giving assurances that these ideas will be incorporated?
Yeah, that's the, so you want me to, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's the idea really. I mean, the EU has already launched, it was said, and this morning, a youth sounding board at a global level, and there also have been a lot of consultation, for instance, on the new EU-African strategy, but now we want also to go to the level of the country, and I would even say also we want to go to the level of the states, to the level of the communities. It's very important. So we are going to have regular meetings of the Youth Sounding Board. We will do regular consultations. Also, I'm sure we still have to define, and it's also up to the members to define how we will work. But we will have, I'm sure, a lot of virtual exchanges as well to make it really alive, because we cannot count only on physical meetings. We really have to be more active than that. And so there will be, there will be different steps when we will design new projects and programs in the coming months. We will work together, and I'm sure I mean, it's a bit too early, but I'm sure we can also, of course, monitor and evaluate along the process how it goes. And I'm sure if young people feel that this is not enough, or that we didn't take into account their comments enough, I'm sure they will tell us, and we will hear them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take a few questions from the audience. If you have any question, please let me see your hand up. I will take at least maybe 3 or 4 questions and provide the members of the panel the opportunity to respond to this question. I recall my first experience serving on a committee at the regional level. I was serving on a board for an African Development Bank project. I think then I was about 25, and I was in a room full of former ministers, serving ambassadors, current ministers, and I was the youngest in the room. It was in Tunis. And I was also very scared, because I felt I didn't have enough experience, like the kind of experience I saw in the room. So I got into the room. We had the first meeting, people asked questions. I was raising my hand, the chairman ignored me, I was too young, he was calling all the elders in the room. And then at some point, the elderly man sitting beside somebody else would serve him tea. I was very happy that someone there was reinforcing my participation. And then she also called the attention of the chairperson to say that this young man has been raising his hand since, please allow him to ask his question. But I also feel that, and that's that agency that many young people wait until 1 year to election before they join a political party. And you want them to vote for you, right? They won't vote for you. They don't know who you are in the party. You must join the party. You must show your competence. If you show your competence, I've seen young people join parties, show competency. Sometimes they don't run for elections, but even when somebody wins an election, he goes and says, I want this young man on my team because I have seen that he is competent. We don't join the party. We don't show competence. And then we are annoyed when the young people who have joined party for 10 years are given positions. They will get the positions, right? They will get the support. So we need to show more competence. We need to learn. We need to put ourselves forward. I'm not saying that money is not a factor. It is a big factor. But I've seen people who flipped the script and have been able to use the opportunities they have to take it forward. I see another young man, 2 young men raising their hand. I want more women to ask questions. I'm biased. More women to ask questions. So please raise your hand. I'll start with him. I'll come to him. And then we'll take a final questions. Noting down some of the questions. If also any question have been referred to you, please note them down so that we can take the response as a whole. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mubarak Idris from Kano State, and I would like to stand on existing protocol. As a young person, I truly believe in the power of tech to bring about positive change and also deal with cases of transparency and accountability. So my question goes to either Mr. Manji Wilson or Mr. Ibrahim Farouk. That what are the concerted efforts your organizations have made when it comes to electronic voting? Thank you.
I have the gentleman in front here. Before you ask your question, I was having a conversation with the Speaker of one of the State Houses of Assembly, and he said to me, Rotimi, I get about 1,000 SMSs in a day or two from people sending me SMS. And he says, you know the funny thing? 90% of those SMS are financial requests. Nobody is concerned about the work I do as a parliamentarian. He says, I receive visitors in my office, 200 visitors in a day, sometimes 100. 90% of them are here for financial requests. He says, when we have a bill in the house, even if it's like a medical bill, and the medical association comes to see the speaker, sometimes they talk about the bill for 2 minutes. The rest of the time, they want financial support. The association needs a boss. The association needs money to build their headquarters. Nobody is interested in lawmaking. Young people, we need to do different, right? We need to show more interest in the development of Nigeria. I'm not saying young people are not showing interest. Pockets of young people are showing interest. If you're not showing interest, you won't be here today. But we need to constantly push the system, right? There are opportunities in the system. If you don't push the system, the spaces are not going to open up to you. Let's take the next question.
Bonjour à tous. Je me nomme Ayaba Wilfred Oussaï-Rambo. Je suis originaire de l'État Edo. Je voudrais parler anglais, s'il vous plaît. One of the reasons I joined this platform is because I share the goals and also the priorities of the platform. I want to know to what extent does the EU affect public policy making in Nigeria? Why I'm asking this question, I want to give a very typical example. Then in Port Harcourt, I was attending Alliance Française do Paracou. I ended at Bayonne. So I had a friend, her name is Ada. She's suffering from respiratory, I think she's suffering from respiratory distress syndrome, and it is caused by a soot. And this thing is a very big problem in Port Harcourt, problem of soot. This PM 2.5. So I want to know to what extent can the EU can regulate Nigeria public policy to make sure this comes to an end. Thank you very much. Merci.
Thank you very much. So we'll take the first round of questions. We'll take responses to this first round of questions. There were 3 questions from the first person, talked about EU's role in wading in national crisis of a sovereign state. What are the support for women running for offices? That question is directed to Ibrahim. Also looking at violence in election. There was also a question looking at financial support or regulating finances for running for political offices, and also a question looking at technology and elections and how we can use technology to vote. And then this final question that is talking about pollution and environmental factors in Nigeria and what the EU can do. So I know a couple of questions have been directed to Ibrahim, to Wilson, and to Cecil, but I would like Brenda to also respond to the question around women's involvement in the governance process and also the role of technology. I would also like Rushdan to also make some comments about the importance of youth constantly participating in these processes. Many times as young people, we are so, how to call it, we're impatient. We want change to happen immediately. And also please lean on some of your experience on where you have seen change happen in Nigeria or elsewhere and how it's important to stay the course. Thank you. I'll start with Ibrahim.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rotimi, and thank you for all the questions. I was expecting Rotimi to be the one asking me all the tough questions, but he has given that responsibility to you. But I'll do my best to answer the questions as much as possible. And the first question was around participation or representation of women, because I had mentioned that earlier. And when I say participation, I meant it in a broad sense. So either participating as voters, which you rightly pointed out to that women are known to participate more voting, but participation also means running for office. When you win office, also being in those decision-making spaces. So there's a whole broad range of participation and representation and inclusion, which we must increase for many marginalized segments of the society. And this includes young people, it includes women, it includes persons living with disabilities. I had mentioned earlier that as part of the work we're doing, and also with support from the European Union, was a program called Ready to Run. And embedded within the Ready to Run program is a small group called She Wins. And it's a group of young women who are running for office. Some of them are in some state houses of assembly. There's one in the Ogun State House of Assembly and another one in the Ondo State House of Assembly. And we've been able to provide support to them as young women. And I make that point, and I made that point earlier on, because we have seen that there's such a huge gap. And one of the things we've been doing is looking at how can we document some of those experiences, what are some of the lessons that we can learn from women, from young people who have run for office as well, and I'll speak about that a bit more later. But yes, we're supporting young women, we'll continue to support them. We are partners with Electa, we're partners with P1, we're partners with so many different organizations that are working around promoting the participation of young men, young women, persons with disabilities. But also to add that as part of the work we're doing under the support to democratic governance in Nigeria, for instance, is some support to the National Assembly. And this also would seek to answer some of the other questions. So there's support to the National Assembly, and there's also some advocacy around electoral reform, and there's a project called Fix Elections Nigeria, which looks at things like the cost of running for office, which looks at things like electronic voting and electronic transmission. But through our advocacy, one of the things that we have seen currently is in the House of Representatives, all female parliamentarians are now members of the Constitution Review Committee, and we've been supporting that committee to ensure that as the Constitution is being reviewed, there's legislation that protects the rights of women and girls, especially when they want to participate in elections. The second question was around not too young to run. Does it work? Seated right beside you is Ismail, and if you speak to Ismail, he'll tell you that he's the Not Too Young to Run coordinator for Katsina State. And in Katsina State, in 2019, they had a 25-year-old member of the House of Assembly. He's one of the direct beneficiaries of that legislation, and it worked. And you can ask him to share the stories of young people who ran for office. And I can also share some of those stories with you. If we speak later, we can exchange contacts. And we have 3 books that we're producing, and some of them were supported by the EU as well. It's a series called Beating the Odds. And what Beating the Odds does is it documents the stories of young men and women, some of them who won, some of them who lost elections, and it tells their stories very clearly. There's a young man in Nasarawa State, and he won election into the State House of Assembly at the age of 27. He had no godfather. He ran under a party called ZLP. And you probably don't know the full meaning of ZLP because it's a very unpopular party. He spent less than ₦1 million. The point I'm trying to make is you must spend money if you want to run for office one way or another. And I think Brenda will talk about some of the advocacy for electoral reform, is that while we are trying to get more young people and women to participate, there's a challenge of how much you can spend. Our National Assembly currently thinks we should increase how much. Well, also on the other side, we are pushing for it to be lowered so that we can get more people to participate. And I think this is where the Youth Sounding Board comes in, because you also have an opportunity to influence how things are done. You have people who represent you in the National Assembly. You come from different states. What are you doing around mobilizing and organizing young people to influence things that are happening nationally and locally? When the National Assembly reconvenes tomorrow, I think, a lot of these conversations are going to start happening. And as a Youth Sounding Board, I think it is now your responsibility. Manji was saying earlier that we are getting old. I'll be glad to hand over and say, well, there are young people who understand these issues, who can organize, who can mobilize, who can influence legislation, because they understand how things work and they understand what exactly young people want to see happen. The last question was around the use of technology. And yes, as part of our advocacy, we have been pushing for the increased use of technology in Nigeria. But I'm going to say this in a very interesting way. It's welcome to the other side, when you have to start to engage with some of these institutions and you see how it works, and you now see the struggle that civil society and young people have in trying to bring about change in our country. Some of us have been doing this work for years. Rotimi has been working around many issues for many years. Change does not happen overnight, but change is going to happen. And I'm confident that working together with members of the Youth Sounding Board and the different organizations that are represented here, we're going to see a lot of change happen around many of the issues you're concerned about.
Before I go over to Roshnan, I want to put you on the spot. Beating the odds. Is it possible to get some copies for members of the Youth Sounding Board?
Definitely.
Please, a round of applause for him. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for the question again. I mean, I'm totally engrossed in the responses because it's so much of a learning for me as well. Okay, now going back to what has been my experience of young people, as we are always saying that the change will not happen tomorrow. But then the changes that is happening, that the very fact you are sitting here, EU is thinking about a governing board. We are looking at how young people should engage. We have created, I don't know whether you all know, the Generation Unlimited platform, where we have looked at young people, what they need. And the 4 things that came up was education, skills, employability, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. And empowerment comes as more as the participation of young people. And this Generation Unlimited platform is about UNICEF and private sector and government and young people to see that by 2030, whether we can get 20 million young people into either of these skills. So there is a lot of things happening, but I want to go back to some of the experiences that you have said. You know, in Bangladesh, I come from Bangladesh, so when we were doing a program on adolescent girls, and particularly like Nigeria, child marriage is a huge issue there. And when we started as adults, you know, typical of our thinking that, you know, the parents don't know, and we must educate the parents on the girls should not get married at a young age. But then when we spoke to the young girls, then only we realized that the families know that it is not the right thing to do, at least in the Bangladesh context. And we had to totally shift, because the young girls were saying we need education, we need support so that we can continue our education, so that the families and the community see and value that what we are bringing in, and it's not a cost to them. It's unfortunate because boys and girls should be treated the same, but that was not the context in Bangladesh. So it totally changed how our programming was done, and I'm very happy to say that in Bangladesh now, whether boy or a girl is equally, one child or 2 children are equally important. Girls are more important. Girls are on the street, and these are the small changes that happened over time that made this shift. I want to come to Namibia in 1998, 1999, 10 years into the independence. What we did that time, SMS was very new, mobile phones were very new. The first generation who were 18 or 19 ready to vote, we galvanized their support, their speeches, and before the election, every day in the newspaper was coming what young people want to see and what young people are going to vote for. It had a huge impact in the manifestations of the manifestos of all the political parties. Same we did in Ghana. When young people participated, they wanted sanitation as a major thing for their change and their lifestyle. The new government came, the opposition actually took it into their manifesto, and then they lived up to their commitment. So there are many examples from the social sector, from your participation, what was mentioned. These young people challenges that we run during the COVID, and actually Maiduguri group got globally the first prize on how to address some of the education challenges globally, and it was done by UNICEF Global Competition. That doesn't mean that overnight it will change, but the spirit that you have, the exposure you got is going to make you more enlightened to influence the political processes and other processes that affects your life. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll come to Brenda and ask you to also respond and share more insight on the technology question and also the women's participation question.
Okay, so maybe I'll just start with the women participation issue. I think it's very important that she asked that, and it's also a very good question. When you look at the Nigerian National Assembly, for instance, so on average, in the Nigerian National Assembly, you only have 4% of women in the Senate and the House of Reps. And these are numbers that we're not happy with. So what we try to do to improve on those figures in my organization, for instance, we have roundtable meetings where we have high-level policymakers. So the female parliamentarians at the National Assembly, the 13 in the House and the 8 in Senate, and then the speakers that are women in state houses of assembly or just elected female representatives actually come to Abuja, and then they discuss and also network on how to improve numbers. Now it's interesting because, like I said, well, the EU has been supporting Plaque's work since 2018, so we've been having these roundtable meetings. So as of 2020, some of the adopted resolutions included that they needed more concrete measures in terms of higher numbers of women in parliament and in elections, and they felt that one way to do this would be by electoral and constitutional reform, which we are doing. So for instance, Honorable Nkiruka Onyejocha actually has a bill before the National Assembly. It's past second reading, and she's done zonal consultations on that bill that seeks to create special seats for women. And then even in terms of the Electoral Act, we've actually been pushing for more gender-neutral language by supporting the Senate Committee on INEC and the House Committee on Electoral Matters, which they claim they've done. And I know Rishna also talked about the fact that sometimes change comes incrementally, and I would say that with my work with Plaque, I actually do accept that change does come incrementally. And if I'm just to give you a random example, for instance, I know that I spoke with somebody who entered Nigeria's foreign service as far back as the 80s. And in my conversation with him, I remember him saying that there were very few women who attempted to enter the Ministry of Foreign Affairs at that time. I also remember reading an article maybe 2 years ago where they were talking about the British Foreign Affairs and how very few women were there in the 70s and 80s and how there's been a change to that. So when we're talking about behavioral change, and I'm doing a comparison because I asked somebody who is currently in foreign affairs as a young officer about the percentage of Nigerian women in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and he told me, that there was actually a significant number, that it was almost like a 60-40. So you can actually see that there's been a change. And even in terms of voting, One thing that we did in terms of trying to increase awareness, for the first time, we decided that our separate activity of jingle messaging to promote awareness of youth inclusion, that we could use our interns to develop that message. So it's a message that is developed by young persons on the importance of CVR and on youth inclusion. And both messages were actually aired on channels during the Politics Today show. Then in terms of electronic voting, I know somebody mentioned that. Like I said, we do work very closely with the Senate Committee on INEC and the House Committee on Electoral Matters. So in terms of electronic voting, I know that a lot of Nigerian citizens think that it's high time that electronic voting, it's high time that INEC is mandated to carry out electronic voting, which as a citizen, I think is also very important, and even PLAC we think is important because we think it would make a large bearing to the transparency of the electoral process in Nigeria, making it more credible, making it more legitimate. So currently, I know that we had a roundtable meeting with CSOs and various stakeholders to try and push for this in July. And I know that even as the National Assembly is convening, we're going to support the committee and hope that it will make those changes. Now, it's also important for us to realize that under Section 4 of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution, the legislature, the National Assembly, has the prerogative to make decisions and to pass laws on behalf of the Nigerian electorate, or on behalf of Nigerians, because that is their duty under the Constitution. But despite the Constitution giving them that prerogative to make the final decision, whether on electronic voting or other things that affect us as citizens, as civil society, and as a youth sounding board, I hope we can continue to push for reform, including the electronic voting, when they finally look at the Electoral Act and harmonize positions. Then lastly, while congratulating the Youth Sounding Board, I just think it's very important for me to say that it's a great privilege that you're in this position, and I hope that you will take this job role, or this position that the EU has given you with the utmost seriousness that it deserves. Thank you.
Let me go over to you, Wilson, to respond to some of the questions that have been asked from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rotimi, and Ibrahim and Brenda for those inputs to some of the questions. I would have to also respond to the same questions as they were directed. I will start with the issue of electronic voting. I think it's very important to make some additions to what has already been said. For us, as technical assistance providers, what we do oftentimes is to ensure that we provide policy advice and guidance on what election management bodies can implement as best practices when it comes to electoral management. Just a few months ago, about 2 to 3 months ago, we published a policy document on a comparative analysis of e-voting, looking at some countries that have implemented electronic voting: Namibia, India, Brazil, Indonesia, and quite a number of countries, drawing from their experiences, what were the challenges and what were the successes that they recorded during the implementation period. I know that the general consensus, as has been alluded by Brenda, by a lot of Nigerians, is that electronic voting is the way to go. Indeed, no doubt, but I want to break your bubble to say it may not be the silver bullet in our electoral process. Reason being that there are quite a number of issues that you consider. There's a difference, actually, between electronic voting and deployment of technology in elections. Electronic voting is basically one of the last steps in the entire process of technology deployment. When you want to deploy technology in an elections, it's important you consider quite a number of factors, of course, in consultations with your stakeholders, the citizens, debates and all of that around what are the issues that would mitigate or enhance the deployment of such technology. You look at the issue of sustainability, you look at the issue of cost, how affordable is that infrastructure for your country. You look at the issue of transparency within the procurement process itself as well. And quite a number of these issues, what is the security and safety, of this technology that you're also trying to deploy. The Electoral Commission issue, as we have seen recently, is the issue of electronic transmission of results, which is also another, a discussion. This is an ongoing debate, and as Ibrahim has...
on climate change, on energy transition, I mean, we really engaged in our advocacy to have, let's say, a Nigeria that is greener, that is cleaner, that is inclusive, that leaves no one behind. Those are all the values we believe in. And not only we talk, but also we accompany our speech, I would say, with some funding of all these projects and programs that help Nigeria to reach these goals. And to make also another link with the question, we have already said, and I can say it here also in front of you to the Nigerian authorities, that we are ready to support the reform of the security sector, and we have put some funds for that in our programming, and we know that the Nigerian government is ready to work with us on that. I could also say, maybe it was not mentioned yet, that recently we committed, and we have already announced that we will provide substantial contribution to this Jubilee Youth Program. So again, I mean, we are doing so this public diplomacy, but we of course, I would like to make it clear, we of course respect the sovereignty of all the countries, and we are not here to give lessons. We are not even less here to give orders. We are here to accompany the country, to help the country in reaching this common goals that we all have, and actually we are all under the agenda, the Sustainable Development Agenda of the United Nations. So we all believe in that. Thank you very much.
We are about to come to a close of this panel, but before we do that, I'd ask each member of the panel to provide one piece of advice to the Youth Sounding Board members. What would be your advice to the members of the Youth Sounding Board to enable them to do their job excellently and to make them successful in this new journey that they're embarking on today? I'll start with Ibrahim. Just one piece of advice, keep it very short, and then we'll go to the rest of the panel members. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotimi. It's hard to keep it short. Many of us on the panel love to talk, and that's what many of us do for a living. But I'll keep it as short as possible. It's remember that you represent many other young people, and you've been given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and make the best use of it. Reach out to as many other young people as much as possible. And never forget that it's not about you. It's about the entire community that you represent. Earlier on, I had said that change does not come quickly, and I'm going to say that again, but change will come. And remember that it is you and it is I, it's all of us that are responsible for bringing about that change. Once again, congratulations, and I wish you the best.
Roshnan?
I would say everything that he said, but stay focused. And don't forget about the ones who don't have a voice. You are still privileged than the others, so keep them along. As you will know that the New Economist has shown that all nations have failed where they have not been able to bring the 50% of their partners on board, that is girls and women. So please do that.
I'm just going to summarize a lot of things that I learned today. I remember the Chargé des Affaires of the EU, Mr. Alexandra Borge Gomez, saying that the youth is the future, so you are the future. And also remembering a lot of statements where people mention the fact that a lot of Nigerian youths are dissatisfied with the system and they want to be involved at the helm of affairs. This is your opportunity to do that. So keep on engaging, keep on learning, keep on researching, and keep on participating as active Nigerian citizens.
Wilson?
Yes, in addition to all my fellow colleagues have mentioned, indeed, congratulations once again. So you should project, of course, the image of the country in a very, very positive, and a very, very fantastic manner in light of all that we see also happening these days within the space, as it is. Engage, of course, collaborate amongst yourselves, collaborate amongst with other people, Youth Sounding Board members across other countries, and even your representative in Brussels as well. Innovate, try to be innovative in your ideas, ensure that you think, outside the box, as we always like to say. Let your ideas, your ideation process be one that is quite, critical, and one that is broad, that will cover quite, a lot of issues, and ensure that you are having a broader scope of the society, as has been highlighted, in view, your members, and try to be as inclusive, as possible. Beyond the inclusion of youth and women, think about persons with disabilities, think about, internally displaced persons in your programming, and ensure that they are captured in whatever programs and interventions you're advising the European Union on. Thank you.
Although it's the EU that is setting up this platform, I can't leave Cecile out. Cecile. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, I think you have a big responsibility, because think about all the candidates who could not be selected. So you are the ones, but you represent also the others. Yeah, I mean, I would also say keep your freshness, your openness, and we saw it in your questions. It's really nice to hear how open you are. So don't be diplomatic like us. Keep your undiplomacy. And I think you have. I mean, your diversity is wonderful. It's also, by the way, the motto of the European Union, united in diversity, So make the most of this diversity, because, some of you have, I mean, you all have some added value, and all this added value together, and you can share it, and you can make the most of it, but putting it together. So, yeah, like the European Union, be united in your diversity. Thank you.
All right, in conclusion, let me remind some of the panelists of some of the commitments that we have made today. I know Ibrahim has promised that some books will be given to members of the Youth Sounding Board. A round of applause for him. And I know Rushnan has also committed that the YouReport platform would be available to members of the Youth Sounding Board to see if you can collaborate and to use some of the output of that for your work. Many of you might not know, but in Nigeria, PLAC is the encyclopedia of parliamentary and legislative resources wherever you can find it. If PLAC does not know of any bill in Nigeria, I doubt there's anybody that will know it. They've been working on this extensively for several years, and I hope that you'll be able to support the Youth Sounding Board members with that warehouse of resources that you have. Is that a yes?
Of course.
Thank you very much. When Manji was speaking, he made allusion to a report. I think it's a comparative analysis report on e-voting, right? And I also know ECES has published a number of reports. Would you also be making that available to members of the Youth Sounding Board? Thank you. Sure. And then the final commitment that we're asking from members of the panel, these are wonderful resource persons that have shared their time with you. I want them to also commit, or I want to ask you if you want them to commit to continuously provide informal ongoing support to you in the course of your work for the next 2 years. Do you want them to commit to that? I can't hear you. Do you want them to commit to that? Are you committing to that, gentlemen and ladies? I know they can't say no because I'm a military dictator on this panel. Thank you very much. A round of applause for them. They've committed. And this is where we'll bring the panel to a close. Thank you very much, all the panelists, for the work that you have done, and thank you for your immense contributions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the panelists, and thank you very much, Rotimi, for that wonderful job done. Thank you. It's a very enlightening session. Thank you very much. Now at this stage, may I ask that I will call you by name. If I do call you by name, please come out to the in front of the podium. I'm going to call each of the members. We want to hear your names. You're being we have guests online, and they like to see your faces. So, and I'll begin by calling Ebuka Peter Alomona. Just come out, and a few of you should also get ready. You may tell us a few more, give us a few more information about yourself. Ebuka, please just take a stand. At some point, I'll ask you to remove the mask because we'll take a photograph of you all. May I also call Osayon Wambo Will Ehioba. Ismail, please get ready. Ismail Bello, please come. Shegun Ogunwale, please follow. Atabo David, please come. Babajide Oluwase. Tawhid Adebite. Iswat Badmos. Rashid Aliu. Precious Uchechi Eze. Mubarak Idris. Rafiat Atonda. Ozamaka Chinyere. Abimbola Abikoye. Solom Tochukwu Ozobulo. Sumaya Adetoyi Ajayi. Fumilayo Oyekomi. Onyidamola Oshinubi. Nehemiah Danjuma. Chidimma Adeze. Stephen Unimisi. Zara Mohammed Karito. Abba Ali Yarima Mustafa. Somto Chukwu Ugu. Adekumbi Lillian Ogunsuye. Okay, so the 25 of you are here. Please, let's give them a round of applause as much as possible. Why is Where is Nehemiah? You're Nehemiah. Okay, can Nehemiah tell us a little bit about why he is here, what about himself and about him? No. And how he got to be here. What he thinks made him get here.
My name is Nehemiah Danjuma. I'm a student of University of Ilorin studying law. I'm here for the launching of the YSB, and I applied because of my passion for working with people from various parts of the country. And also I believe that youths are supposed to be given a seat at the table. And I also applied because I'm very active in my own community. And I believe that everything starts from our community. When we see problems in the community of the disability people, we're able to solve it, and it will be able to do things. And that has been my motivation and my passion, and has helped me to come here and apply for as a member of the Youth Sounding Board. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nehemiah. That is deep. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And may I call on Chidinma Adeze Onwana to just tell us a bit about yourself and what you think has made you tick. Why were you selected? Why do you think you have been selected? Thank you.
My name is Chidinma Adeze Onwana. That's actually my surname. Okay, I'm an architect and environmental designer, and through my work as an architect and environmental designer, I work with cities, and then I became interested in SDG 11, that is sustainable cities. And the more interests I had in it, I realized that access and inclusion was a very big issue. So it's not, and also that it's impossible to achieve sustainable cities without going to the root of the matter, that is the little communities. You cannot plan a city at large without visiting and interacting and working with the community, just from the little, from the regional to you. I'm hoping you understand what I mean. Okay, so doing that, I realized also that even to do that successfully, I had to interact with the youth of the community. Even though as Nigerians, we look around and we sort of see that the other people run things, but when you go to the communities, you realize that the youth also have a big say, meaning that no matter what the elder people decide, at the end of the day, the youth somehow have the power. They are the manpower beside everything that is carried out, and that got me into youth empowerment, because going into communities, I realized that I don't only have to talk to the elder people, you get their permission, but you also have to have the permission of the youths. If not, regardless of what the elder people say, you are not going to be successful if the youths have decided that they don't know what you're doing in their community. And I applied for this because after working in various places, I volunteered with the IDP camp somewhere in Abuja, and currently I work with the UNSDN. After doing that, I realized that I wanted the ability to do this on a larger scale, to help where I could. I mean, not everybody has the opportunity to do that. Not everybody even has the information that is needed to do these things. And so I said, okay, if there are going to be other people and we can come together and actually make a difference for the other Nigerian youths, everybody cannot be there at once, but if I have the opportunity to help make a difference for other people, then that is going to be worth it. And I believe that I was selected based on, well, the merit of some of the things that were mentioned earlier, based on my experience, based on the fact that I'm involved in my community. It's not just about writing the things that you do, but you're actually presently involved and active in your community, achieving real results in your own little way. And I noticed that every other person that is here with me has the same quality. Just from interacting with them, I noticed that they all have the same quality. They're doing something tangible in their own community, wherever they find themselves. And that's about it.
Thank you very much, Chidema. May I also call on Ismail Bello.
Hello, good afternoon all. My name is Ismail Bello. I'm from Katsina State. So I believe what's influenced my application to apply for the Youth Sounding Board was because of the tremendous work I have done in Katsina State and surrounding northern Nigeria states. I was part of the Not Too Young to Run movement, just like Ibrahim have said. I was the Katsina State coordinator. So through the Not Too Young to Run campaign, I engaged with a lot of young people. We mobilized young people. We ensured that the Not Too Young to Run bill was passed in the Katsina State House of Assembly. And after that, after the passing of the Not Too Young to Run, we went further by mobilizing young people to ensure that they come out and register to vote and also to run for political office. So in the 2019 general election, Katsina State was among the states with the highest number of young candidates. And Katsina State today is among the states that have benefited from the Not Too Young to Run legislation, as we have a 25-year-old lawmaker that is in the Katsina State House of Assembly. Also, the work that I'm doing with the Katsina State government as an ICT consultant, I play a vital role in the development of a program called Youth Entrepreneurship Development Program, which is a program meant to support young people to go into entrepreneurship. So I play a vital role in the development of that program. I even suggest different training modules to be deployed for the training of that program. And recently, I was among the 6 lucky Nigerians that went to the United States for the International Visitors Leadership Program. And I just came back like 4 weeks ago. So I believe my experience, my knowledge, and skills qualified me to be selected as a member of the Youth Sounding Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ishmael. Thank you. I really wish I can go through everyone. I guess we'll stop at this point. And online, we're going to have everyone's motivation put online, please. We can't go through everyone to save time. Thank you very much. At this point, my call on Esme Stoart to come and give out to the members there, to tell them who they are, and they'll use this for their photo props. Congratulations to all of you. Yes, you're going to use that for your photo props at some point, but just keep it closely to yourself. We're actually getting to the close of this segment, and then we'll go into our breakout sessions. We'll go for our lunch, and then go for the breakout sessions. So thank you very much, the Youth Sounding Board members. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you very much. We appreciate you all. And congratulations.
Thank you very much. And so, yeah, I hope indeed that they will have, each of them will have an opportunity to present, to record, and the idea is to record your motivation, and then it will be posted. So I'm looking forward to listening to all of them. So yes, I'm asked to give just a few closing remarks. So well, I would like to thank Ugo, our Master of Ceremony. I think we can give her a big applause. And of course, I would like to thank Esme as well. So I don't need to introduce you to Esme. She has been really the key colleague for this process. Thank you very much, Esme, for your hard work. And also all the supporting staff like Ngozi and Evelyn who are with us. Thank you also to all the participants who stayed until now. But this is not the end. So after the lunch break, you will have a very interesting afternoon. Unfortunately, I will not stay with you. But some members of my team are going to come this afternoon to work with you. So you will work with Esme about the role of the board, really, the structure and how you are going to work. Then you will have these sessions talking about the different priority areas that I mentioned this morning. And so here you will have some members of my team from the different thematic sub-teams, let's say. And then, of course, you will also get organized. At the end of the day, you have to do your internal elections and so on. So I would like to tell you that I was really honored to meet you this morning, to congratulate you and to wish you, and I'm sure, very good work. And this is not, of course, the end. We will have opportunities to meet again soon when we will consult you. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, Cecile. It's lunchtime. I'm hungry myself, so I'm excited that it's lunchtime. So let's go. Can the ushers lead us to the restaurant, please? There's Chinyere, Ijoma there that will lead us. Ijoma will lead us to where to have our lunch. Please, everyone, the panelists, please don't leave until you've had lunch. Go with all your belongings. Do not leave anything back here. Go with all your belongings, please.